Hi, I'm Tyson Franklin, and welcome to this week's episode of the Podiatry Legends podcast. The podcast is designed to help you feel, see, and think differently about the podiatry profession. Today, I have a friend that I've known for about 2 decades, or maybe a little bit longer. He is a chiropractor in North Carolina, and his name is Dr. Brent Seaver. So, Brent, how are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you, Tyson. Thank you for having me on the show.
Oh, this is great. I wanted to get you on because there's always a lot of conversations about professional referrers, how you build relationships up with professional referrers. And this is how we originally met, was you were working for somebody as a chiropractor in Cairns. And since then, we referred to each other. We became really good friends. We have drunk margaritas in Las Vegas together. And you are one of my best friends in the world. But I wanted to talk about how we developed that relationship. And as someone who is a professional referrer, what you look for when you're approached by podiatrists or other health professionals. So where should we start? How did you and can you remember the first meeting you and I had?
That's a great question. I do faintly remember that I believe it was when we went up to Mariba to the clinic there, and we shared an office together, and
That's
Dr.
right.
Moore actually introduced us at that location, and then just from that point, talking about patients, being in the same space, we got to talking, and I had some. If I remember right, I think I had a couple patients that had feet issues that I got over to you, and vice versa. And then we just, from being around talking shop, that we just started hanging out and developed it from there. But, we've got the trust factor involved and went forward from there.
And I think we go back a step, like you said, you were working for John Moore at the time. So John Moore was the owner of Chiropractic Works at the time in Cairns. I had gone and seen John, and then I started to develop just a referral relationship with John. And then I think from there with John, eventually we met socially somewhere, and then I'd gone to his place for dinner. So we started to get to know him pretty well, which automatically built up that trust. So when I met you, the trust level was already slightly higher than probably normal.
I would agree.
So sure. So going back to that side of things, and I said this just before I press record, that I really believe that you can have, there's different levels of professional referrers. Some it's purely just professional and you don't have any relationship other than that. And there's others when professional referrers become friends, all of a sudden the number of referrals increase, which is quite funny. Sure. Whereas the referrals should be really high to start with. Shouldn't have to be friends to get a lot of referrals. But why do you think that's the case?
My thought is that, as you develop that relationship and the friendship, you start to get that trust of the person behind the scenes, and also get to know that person and get the confidence level. I mean, obviously we have plenty of people that we refer to on a professional level that we trust that they have expertise. But we always like to know that somebody is going to take care of somebody to the same level that we do, with our skill, but also with just our humanity, and the way that we would treat that patient. We want to know that person we refer to would do the same thing, treat them as if they're family, and move forward. And so I believe, that's where we came in, is that both of us are professional, but yet lighthearted when we interact with our patients. We want to make sure that it's a fun experience. And I think that getting to know each other, we knew that we were the same personality as far as that goes. And so it was just a comfort level from pretty much from the beginning. And then also just talking, with us, working through the process of day to day. And as referrals started to come through the pipeline, we started talking shop more and learning what you knew and how you did things, and vice versa. And so, just getting that confidence level in the big picture, so to speak.
Yeah, it's sort of a podcast not too long ago. I had Luke and Lauren Bertram on the show. They're a husband and wife team she's a physio, he's a podiatrist. And they were explaining the referral relationship that they have. And when they explained in detail how it developed over, and this is going back before they were married to being married, and when they explained that relationship they have of purely a professional referral relationship, it makes you realize, like, you don't have to marry all your chiropractor and physiotherapists that you want referrals from, but just as the relationship grows, the referrals come with it, which is why I always say to people, you've got to nurture that relationship with your referrers. You can't go and see them once or send one letter, one email, and then hope that they're just going to send everybody to you.
I would agree. And so, I mean, obviously the more that they interact with you, the more they get to know you. And like you said, you build that relationship of trust, and then it's easier to be 100% confident when you say, hey, I got your guy, or I got your lady. This is the person for you, because I have confidence in them. This is where I would send my family. So I agree with you.
So from a podiatrist point of view, what sort of things do you think they could do to build that relationship better? I know, like, standing out the front of a professional referrer's house at night is probably not the right thing to do. That can be a bit creepy. Go and knock on the door. Hey, how you doing? I just thought I'd say hello. Yeah.
I would agree.
What sort of steps do you think they could take to improve that relationship and get it on a more personal level?
I mean, obviously, I think we've all engaged in the, phone calls to update about patients, but, even going further, take them to lunch, actually have a conversation with just each other versus only about patients and at a professional level. And, just making a more frequent attempt versus, having a purpose that is only when the patient is, you're wanting to get information about that patient, or share that information, that you're actually, just approaching them and interacting without even being about the patient at the moment, so to speak. And so if you just do more of a relationship building, as we've been discussing, that I think that again will just build everything. So whatever that is, lunch, dinner, phone call, quick chat, whatever.
Oh, there was a chiropractor that I had on my older podcast. It's no secret, Dr. T, Dr. Chris Zano, who's a chiropractor.
Zano, yep.
Yeah, you know him?
I know.
Mr. Universe?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, amazing. He was a really, really nice guy. And I remember him talking on the podcast, and he said that his number one referral source from how he got referrals from other professionals was he would put a dinner on every quarter. Yeah, and he would get up, put the dinner on. He would get up there for 10 minutes and just talk about his experience on why he became a chiropractor. Didn't talk about trying to flog the service off or why chiropractic, fixes everything. Just purely, this is why I became a chiropractor. Quick 10-minute talk. And he explains on the podcast how he came up with this idea. It was purely by accident. But he said that was his number one marketing that he did, and that was the best way that he got referrals, purely building relationships with people.
And I would agree. And so professionally, but also obviously patients, I mean, that, and I've interacted with him quite often. And so that is, and has been, and still is to this day, one of his biggest referral sources. And he's developed that niche, but he's just got a good system. And most people think, well, dinner talk, what am I going to talk about? What am I, how long does it need to be? And just like he alluded to, it's a very short, quick, they just really need to feel from his heart what his purpose is. And he's a huge person when it comes to purpose. It's not about the how for him, it's really about the why. And so he'll express that, and that's what makes him super attractive to whoever he's interacting with. And he, you definitely pick up the sincerity from him. And so, 10 minutes, you basically, and that's from 10 minutes of talking, he'll explain the why and the philosophy of chiropractic and why he's involved, or what his experience is. And then from there, he'll just take it to, opening the invitation, and, he'll book a ton of people just from that process, and interact with other professionals, because he, the good thing over time is he's developed that professionals even come to that, not just patient opportunity. And so that is definitely, again, it's about relationship building, and it's about just opening yourself up to basically show that personal side of you.
Yeah. And it's not as you don't have to put a dinner on, but if there was a lunch on, it could be a networking event, it could be a business event, and you're thinking, oh, I'm going to go to that because there's a good speaker, or it's a group that you're part of, but you can book a table of 10. Look at how much will it cost you to take 10 people to a lunch. Now, if it was $45 head, it's going to cost you $450. Now, if you look at the orthotic economy, that's less than one orthotic to actually take yourself, probably another team member, and 8 professional referrers to a lunch, and it may not be just the professional referrers, it could be the practice managers of those businesses, because they're like the gold, they're the golden goose of the business.
As we say, they're the gatekeepers. And
yes.
So they're the one, obviously as professionals, we know we get busy. And so we get distracted by that busyness at times. And so they're the window of opportunity to just basically get that relationship started. And then if you can get them to be your raving fan, then they're going to go to their doc and basically say, you've got to talk to this person. Like he's somebody we need to work with. And so, and I agree with you. And I think a lot of times it's easy to get short-sighted and think, well, that initial cost and, I'm not going to get a referral from that first go, but it's really about that process of building relationships. So sometimes it does take repetition, but you've got to get it started somewhere. And I think that's where sometimes we fall short in the fact that we just don't initiate the process and we want instant gratification. And it's really about the long game.
Yeah, well, I've said to people, going to visit a doctor once, or a chiropractor or a physio, seeing them just one visit is not going to change their referral habits. So if they're already used to referring to another podiatrist down the road and you come and see them once, they might refer someone to you the next day because it's just top of mind. But then 2 weeks later, when you've had no contact with them and they're like, what was their name again? John, Paul, Mary, I don't know. One of the Beatles. It was one of the Beatles. I can't remember their name. I go, you know what? Just send them back down to Burnie down the road, because that's where we normally send them. And I think that's a mistake where people make. They think one visit, one letter, one email is going to solve all the problems, and it doesn't.
Agreed. We've got to constantly be in front of them to be top of mind when they have that, because we don't know if it's today, tomorrow, a month from now that they need that referral. And so if we constantly stay in their sphere, then eventually they're going to, when they think of that, we're going to be the first person they think of. And so that repetition is key. And, that goes with anything, whether it's social, whether it's, letters, dinner talks, lunches, whatever it may be. But it also shows that person that you value that relationship or the opportunity for that relationship anyway.
Yeah. And I like what you said too about sometimes they focus on the short-term costs. Oh, it might cost me $450 to take that group of people to lunch, but what can it give you back long-term? Give you back a lot more than $450. And we did the same when we would, there'd be like a charity golf day. So we would have 2 carts, which meant I would play and I could invite 3 professional referrers. And I tell you, the people that I used to invite to those days were my biggest referrers long-term. And when you do this once a year and you do it for a couple of years, you become really good friends with them.
I agree.
So if we go back on the other side, what are some things that you've noticed that annoy you when somebody approaches you? Is there anything that sort of stands out? You go, it just bugs me when they do it? Because I've got a couple that I know bug me, but I'll get you to answer it first.
I would say in my realm, it's more when somebody comes at me and tells me what they can do for me or how I can benefit from their service versus coming from an aspect of what is your need? How can I help you? They're trying to tell me what it is versus coming at it from a inquisitive point of view and finding out what my deepest concern is or my struggle or my challenge or where I could use some help. And then, fostering that position versus saying, this is what I do and this is how I can help you. And maybe that's not what I need at the moment.
Well, happens exactly the same thing happens online. I'll get a friend request from somebody and I'll look and it'll be somebody that might do some form of online marketing, for example. And I'll see it and I go, oh yeah, they're friends with, 25 other people that I know. I'll have a look through their profile, go, oh, they've got some pretty interesting information. So I accept the friend request. And within 2 minutes of me doing that, the next minute they're sending me a direct message. Hey, here's my coaching package that I've got on where I can help you. Mm-hmm. This is the common thing, 10 times your turnover. And I'm like, if you knew what my turnover was, how do you don't even know what my turnover is? And then you're going to 10 times it. Do I really want 10 times the amount of work? Mm-hmm. So it's those sort of assumptions and them sort of just, like you said, jumping in there saying, oh, this is why I'm awesome. Doesn't always go over well.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said about approaching it from a humble aspect of I'm here to work with this relationship. What do you need from me? And, instead of it being about me, what do you need from me? How can I help? And, being a servant first and foremost, because we all know that if we approach it from that aspect, it's eventually going to come back to us, as you said, tenfold over time. But we've got to start the relationship and everybody will say what's in it for me? That's going to be the first impression by most people when you approach them. What's in it for me? And so, now we need to find out what it is that they need so that we can make that apparent that there is something we can do to help them in that what's in it for me process.
Yeah, I've seen conversations between people, not just professional referrers, but there will be two people there talking, and there's one who is just doing all the talking, and the other person's just listening and not saying anything else. Now, the person who's just listening will leave, but the person who's doing all the talking will say, geez, they were really nice. We had a great conversation. But they realize the other person didn't really say too much, but the other person didn't want to say anything because their question was, oh, tell me about yourself. What is it that you like most about what you do? And because people love sharing about themselves. So I could picture you visit a doctor, physio, chiropractor, and then asking the chiropractor, oh, what parts of chiropractic do you enjoy more of than anything else? And probably very few chiropractors get asked that by a podiatrist when they visit.
Agreed.
And then once they start sharing that, they'll be going, wow, what a nice podiatrist.
Yes.
Not realizing they didn't tell them too much at all.
Yeah. And they, like they say, is how do you become interesting is by being interested. So if you're listening to what they need and you're showing that you're actually interested in them, then they think you're the most interesting person they ever met. And it starts that relationship off in a good light. Okay.
So obviously, like when you're in Cairns, you didn't refer to any other podiatrists other than me.
Of course not. There wasn't any other podiatrists. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I think there were some up here. I just don't. Yeah. But you referred to the right place, which is great.
Agreed.
But some of the other things that I've seen where we've been approached, we've had people approach us when I had the podiatry clinic, would be a random person turning up unannounced with business cards, brochures, rocking up at the reception, go, I just wonder, does the podiatrist have 5 minutes? I want to drop off some stuff. And I'm thinking that is one of the worst things that you could possibly do. Just turning up unannounced.
Agreed. Interfering with the flow of the day. I mean, that it's a surprise. You don't want to be a surprise factor for one thing. Obviously, coming prepared is one thing, but also just making sure that you make it convenient for the patient, for the doctor, simply because if you do show up unannounced, as you're alluding to, it could be inconvenient, but it's also when that surprise factor happens with most things, we're going to start backing up first and not really be as open to what there is there to potentially glean as far as relationship. So I agree with that there needs to be some fostering before you even get to that level.
Okay. Another question for you. Where you're living now, you obviously have a relationship with some podiatrists or some other health professionals. If a podiatrist was coming to see you, for example, and they had a good conversation, asked you about you, and you thought, yeah, they're great, and then they were going to leave you something to remind them of, what is the best thing that they could leave you that would have the most impact? I'm just curious. I haven't set this question up. You didn't know that I was going to ask this question. Now, don't say $150 bottle of whiskey. That would leave a lasting impression.
That would be a great start.
Yeah. Wouldn't they get well known around town? Oh, you want to see the podiatrist? He will give you a $150 bottle of whiskey.
Agreed.
Yeah, there's a thought.
That's a great question.
Like they could leave you a business card, for example, or they could leave. Somebody asked me just earlier on today, actually. Somebody said, "Oh, we're thinking of getting some brochures done up and dropping them off at the different doctor surgeries and things." They said, "Should we do that?" And I went, "No."
Yeah.
Said,
my first thought was exactly what you said, was a business card, something simple. I just need to be able to get a hold of them.
Yeah.
I don't need brochures because let's be frank, 90% of us are not even going to open that brochure. We're not going to go any further than look in the front cover. So really just a business card, maybe even your personal cell on the back, to make it say, hey, I'm available to communicate. Just simplicity, I think, would probably be the biggest thing. I think we're so used to being bombarded with just stuff that, a business card with a cell phone on the back and a bottle of whiskey next to it would be perfect.
Back to the bottle of whiskey. I tell you, that would not go wrong. I was at what was really funny, I was at a podcasting conference in Philadelphia, 2018, I think it was. And it was surprising the amount of podcasters at a certain age do not have business cards. Just, yes, we were talking about something. It was really interesting conversation. I go, have you got a business card? I don't have a business card. And I'm like, oh, okay. Made me feel stupid because I had one. But anyway, what was funny, at the end of the day, after I talked to people and the other people gave me a business card, what would happen when I get back to the room at night, I'd take out my business cards and I'd write on the back who the person was, what I wanted to follow up with, what it was about them that I liked. All the people that I actually got a business card from, I still have maintained a relationship with those people 4 years later. Yeah, one I did an ice cream crawl with. You do a beer, pub crawl.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we did an ice cream crawl through Philadelphia, and I'm lactose intolerant, and I was so sick afterwards. But it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun at the time. But all those ones that said, "Oh no, I don't have a business card. Can we just bonk our phones together, or I'll text you." I probably didn't have much to do with them afterwards, because it felt so superficial that they didn't actually give me anything. Agreed. So I still think a business card in the professional world is still really important.
I agree. And I think of this day and age, a lot of people think, oh, well, I'll just share my social link. I'll, send you an email or whatever. But I still feel like there's a tangible component to the business card. And then while we're on that topic, don't just create a normal paper business card. Make it unique. I mean, round the edges, make it a thicker card, make it foiled, something that is going to stand out. Because I'll share my experience. When I go somewhere and somebody hands me a bunch of business cards, if I can write on it, I do exactly the same thing. I'll write what I remember about them. But it's the cards that actually are different than just a simple square or rectangular business card that stay like in my sphere all the time. The rest of them kind of get shoved away. I might put some notes somewhere, but I look at those more and more. And so that name stays in the top of mind. Especially if with change, what can you do to be different?
Oh, I definitely agree. I think that's the thing. When you go and visit somebody, is there might be 20 podiatrists especially in bigger cities. There could be a number of podiatrists in that particular area. So what are you going to do when you meet that person? Because they've got 19 other podiatrists that they could refer to. What are you going to do when you meet them that is going to stand out just that little bit more or become memorable?
Agreed.
We ended up doing, we had a number of, do I clear my throat? There's not COVID. I'll edit that out on the podcast, but it'll stay in the video. I don't edit these videos. They just stay as they are. Yeah, it was really professional up until then. I forgot what I was talking about. So you're getting back onto the being different side of things. I think you're just going to give it some thought. What is everybody else doing? Can you do just one thing that's a little bit different when you meet somebody that makes you stand out, or invite them to something that probably they wouldn't normally get invited to?
Agreed. And I think that's obviously I think all of us have done the drop the dinner, lunch off for the staff. And so those are options. But like you said, I think inviting them out of their realm into another realm that's more of a social atmosphere and get out of the professional side of things and to just loosen things up a bit more. Obviously that is definitely a good win.
Yeah. So you're saying when people are just turning up with the platter of food or the coffees, which are all usually appreciated, but getting them out of their clinic and in a different environment where you've got the opportunity to sort of get to know each other a little bit more social level, not on that professional level all the time.
I agree.
Okay. Now what about afterwards? How about sending thank you cards or something after the actual meeting?
nowadays there's so many platforms, between Vidyard and Loom and different things, or even just a simple video on your phone. You get some contact details from them. Send them a quick video, 30 seconds to a minute, and thank them for the opportunity and engage them in that way. And again, something unique and different. You're not just sending. I agree with the cards. We still do cards, written cards, but I always like to add a personal, video, more face-to-face personal than just a simple card. But those are unique ways to actually engage that person, to where we do that with our patients, even just simply because if you stand out, it's something that they're going to be like, oh, I've never had that before. And so then it's going to be a memorable experience for them.
Yeah, especially Loom. I think Loom is fantastic that you can very easily on your computer, on your phone, shoot a quick video with a message. You may even write a report to the doctor, and you email it to them. But then when you email it to them, why not email a quick video just saying, hey, just let you know, I've just attached a report on Brent Seaver that you referred to me. And by the way, it was great meeting you the other day, and a quick little message. And because nobody else is doing that, you stand out slightly. So I think it's using technology is really important as well.
Yeah, using technology and standing on the basics of what we talked about, the business card, the thank you cards. So I think those are all necessary things to still do, but we've, like you said, to add the extra little bit of the video, the voice message, a quick recording text or whatever, just so that there's something different that makes you stand out from everybody else. And so whatever you can do to be that unique person, and again, it makes it more personable, and that, I think that will help foster relationships quicker.
Yeah, well, what I'd say over my whole career, and I said it right from the start, the professional referrers who referred the most patients to me were the professional referrers I developed a relationship with over a period of time. And not every single person was, were we as good of friends as like you and I were. But what was interesting, you and I were great friends, and I got far more referrals from you than anybody else. So it's sort of really, and the thing is, you don't want to force a friendship if it's not there.
Agreed.
Because you've either got to, I think it's your personalities have got to match. You've got to have the same sort of quirky sense of humor, laugh at the same sort of dumb stuff. And that's where you can develop that. So some relationships you will only ever be able to take to a certain point. I remember we were doing up bottles of wine and for Australia Day or something like that. And I sent them off to a few doctors, and had this one doctor ring me up, rang a clinic, and they said, oh, can I speak to Tyson? Yep, he got on the phone. He said, oh, hi, this is Dr. Such and Such. And he said, I just want to let you know that, the bottle of wine that you gave to me, I don't really appreciate it. I went, oh, sorry, I didn't realize that. I said, it's against your religion, or he goes, no, I just feel that you've given me that bottle of wine as more of a bribe to get more patients. And I went, yeah, that's exactly what it was. I said, but if you don't want it, that's fine. I said, but it was just that. I said, I didn't say it was for any particular patient. It was just a thank you for supporting the clinic. He goes, oh, I would appreciate you didn't give me any more. I said, okay, not a problem. I said, can you just hold for one sec? He said, yeah, put him on hold. His business partner was actually my doctor. So I rang him. I said, hey, Peter. And he said, what? I said, I dropped those bottles of wine off. He went, yeah. He said, oh, thanks, sir. I really appreciate it. I said, well, your partner reckons he doesn't want it. He goes, oh, fine. Tell him to just drop it into my room. He said, I'll have 2 bottles. So I got him back. I said, Peter said, just drop the bottle of wine off to him. He'll appreciate it. So, and that's what I mean when you're working and dealing with people, you're not going to get on with everybody. People are going to have these certain things will work with one person, won't work with another. Some you'll become friendly with, and others, they don't want to be friends with you. They're happy to just keep it purely professional, but you just got to gauge it as you go.
And to just caveat onto that, it still warrants fostering that relationship. You just have to, like you said, it's only going to reach a certain level. But that, who knows? We all know people that will change over time as they loosen up, get to know you more, than they change their tune. So, you still foster that relationship. That may not be the person you invite out to the golf outing and hang out with. And, they'll give you a certain amount of referrals, And then the other people, they're going to be your bigger winners, so to speak. So I agree. And to add to that, I think sometimes people run into those relationships and then they stop, because then they think everybody's like that, versus saying, hey, it's not everybody can be me or be like me. And so I've got to everybody has a different personality. My patients are going to like certain doctors that maybe we don't get along, but I still need to foster that relationship because that patient is important to me. We still need to have that relationship to talk back and forth. But it's a law of numbers, and the fact that as you engage more and you do more, then eventually as you put yourself out there, those people are going to be attracted to you. Those different docs and different referrals. And so it's just going to bolster you and move you forward a whole lot quicker if you just keep putting in the effort.
Yeah. And like what you said too, if sometimes you've gone to see a couple of professional referrers and it hasn't worked out very well the first couple of meetings, is don't stop doing it. It just means those couple that you had just didn't work out. Just keep going through the process, because you will find those people that you sort of like. And also what you said, the ones that you get on better with, you will invite to, say, a golf day, because you've got to spend 4 or 5 hours with these people. And you don't want to be in a golf cart with someone who doesn't share similar humor as yourself, because it could be a very long day. But if you're doing a dinner with 10 people, and there's others there where you go, well, don't have the same personality, but I still like them and I know they like me, but I could find them boring to be with for a number of hours. Invite them to a lunch that goes for an hour and a half with other people at the table that will buffer and help with the conversation. So you've got to pick what's going to work based on what you've learned about them so far.
And adding to that, as you're at that dinner of 10 people, there's going to be 3 or 4 of them that really gel with you. You get on, you're having a good time, you're interacting. Those people that don't gel with you immediately, you'd be surprised how many times they now start opening up more because they see those other people enjoying the experience. And obviously they get the FOMO and they think they're going to miss out on something. And now they'll actually start being more open, maybe not as open as those other 4, but they'll start opening up more. And that's where I think persistence is key, because it just shows your intention and you're genuine. And so when they're looking for somebody, if they see that, regardless whether they gelled right away, they still know your intention. They know that you're genuine. And then so they're still going to think of you. Because again, if you create that uniqueness and you basically keep it present in mind, they're going to eventually refer to you and they're going to think about you more. So I think it's just, again, it's consistency.
Yeah. And I always say it also, because I spoke about this on another podcast just about professional referrers on the podiatry marketing podcast. If anyone wants to go and check it out, myself and Jim McDonald have got together and we're doing the podiatry marketing podcast. So go and check that out. But what I was saying on there is it's also be very aware that when you're building these relationships with your professional referrers, is they also see all the marketing that you do. So if you're talking to them and you're saying that you're a particular type of podiatrist, but then your marketing is saying something completely different because you're aiming for low-hanging fruit or a different type of patient, just be aware your professional referrers see that. So you've got to maintain that same level of certainty about who you are and what your practice actually represents.
So we could use the term branding loosely here, but you got to stick to your, like you said, your brand, your level of certainty, your consistency at that level. Don't go up and down due to whatever the situation is, slower month, whatever. You do what you do, and it's like we always say, our fee is our fee. What we do is what we do. We don't change that for you or anybody else. This is what we do. This is a level of service that we provide, and that's why we attract the people that we attract to the volume that we do, is because we don't change. We are very certain about what we have to offer and how we can help that patient. And the biggest thing I think a lot of people forget about is that you're not the doctor for everyone.
No,
you have to be the doctor for the people that you're the doctor for, that gel with you. And that's how you create happiness in your life and your practice. And that's also how you create the energy to grow, is because you're going to attract the people that feed you, and they're going to be very certain and very confident in coming to you.
geez, you made a good point there too about, but yeah, like what you charge is what you charge. When I think back to what my practice was like when you were in Cairns and where you were working, what the practice was like, neither of us bulk billed. We charged more than probably anybody else in either profession was at the time in our area.
Agreed.
And we were both probably the two biggest businesses in our professions in the town.
I would agree.
So yeah, I think it's really important that, we just didn't bulk bill. You guys didn't bulk bill. So when your patients came and saw us, they knew we weren't bulk billing and they weren't expecting us to. So they expected a certain type of clinic too when they turned up, which is exactly what they got. And that's been a question I've had from a lot of people that go, oh, how do I stop the amount of bulk billing patients that I have to see? Okay, easy, just stop.
You just make a decision.
Yeah, make a decision to do it. I'm not saying that you shouldn't. Like if your clinic is all based around bulk billing and you're really happy and you go to work with a big smile on your face every day, you shouldn't stop bulk billing. But if you're bulk billing and it's depressing you, or you're working somewhere that bulk bills and it's depressing you, then go and find a job with someone who doesn't bulk bill.
I agree. You have to be fulfilled in where you're at and what you're doing. And if that is a draining factor for you, then I'm not saying you wouldn't treat to the best level that you could, but you got to realize that you're not giving 100% to that patient or to you, which is the most important thing.
Yeah.
If you're unhappy in that situation. So you just have to make a decision that it's okay. Yes, you might have to step back to leap forward, but you have to be certain that that's the best move for you.
No, I think that's a really good point. So Brent, before I finish up, I just noticed you have a really interesting book over on your left-hand side there. What would that be?
Oh, yeah. Have you guys seen this guy before?
Yeah, let's have a look at that title. It's No Secret There's Money in Podiatry. A podiatrist's guide to earning more, working less, and enjoying what you do more each day. May as well get that plug in there.
Yes, absolutely. And just to say, as a chiropractor, and I know that Tyson went on to write another book to be more of a general business book, but this is one of the best books that I ever read when it first came out, just for the basics of business. It didn't matter. I know he geared it towards podiatry. And so if you don't have this book, you've got to get it. But the second thing is that any business can actually benefit from this. It's just got good basic and sound and tried and true processes in there that will make any business succeed. Podiatry, chiropractic, I don't care if it's a mom and pop restaurant, they could all benefit from this.
Thank you, Brent. Well, it's funny. I was talking to a podiatrist yesterday and they said, I was thinking about writing a podiatry book. I was really in tune. I'm going to write a podiatry book, like a business book. They said, then I read your book and I decided not to write a podiatry book. I said, why? I said, I don't think I could write it as well as what you wrote. And I said, don't worry. I said, I read my book and I must have just been in the zone when I wrote it. I was just in the writing zone. And I always say it's the second best business book I've ever read. Yeah. I just haven't found the first one yet. I haven't found it.
Oh, fair enough. Fair enough.
No, I'm in the process of writing it.
Good for you. But just another shameless plug that, that's one thing that I think Tyson and I, as far as relationship, moved forward is because I think we're always looking 5 steps ahead of what's next. How could I do this better and be unique and different? And so you've always got to get your basics down, your systems down, and make sure that everything is stable and ready for growth. And then you've got to look for how are you going to make this grow? What's the next thing that I can do that stays within my purpose, within my certainty and my brand, but what can I do to move forward? And that's where the basics of, I don't want to say this book is basic, but having the basics like this gets you tried and true to where you're not challenged with growth. And then you basically just look for the next thing, not the next shiny object, but the next thing. And I think as you emphasize in the book, you have to have those 6 pillars of, marketing. You actually have to have lots of tributaries coming in. So don't rely on one source. You need to do many things to just make sure that you're filling that bucket as fast as you can.
Yeah. And I like that. Yeah. Don't keep chasing the shiny object. That happens a lot in podiatry where all of a sudden, I call it the bandwagon effect. Someone starts doing something, so everybody jumps on board. Oh, we've got to start doing it because everybody else is doing it. And when I asked them a question, do you actually make any money doing that now in your clinic? No, we didn't. Oh, but I paid $2,500 to go and do the course. And I go, well, don't jump on it just because everybody else does. But the other part, a question I always get my coaching clients to do, and just to point out to people, if anyone is saying, oh, Tyson, do you do one-on-one business coaching? The answer is yes. It's surprising how many people ask me that, and I say it all the time, is I get them to think about, what do your patients need, or what are they going to need in the next 12 months, 3 or 5 years? Think about what they're going to need, and is your business in position to be able to offer that to them? Because if you can't, then they may go to another podiatrist. So just give that some thought.
Great concept in the fact that if you know that they will benefit and need a service, don't be scared to put it into the clinic. Obviously, don't run after the next get rich quick process, but if they need something besides orthotics, they need another orthosis, they need some sort of service, that laser, whatever it might be, that if you're confident that that patient would benefit from that in the treatment process, why would you ever want them to go anywhere else and do that if you could provide it in-house? And those are all extra streams of income on the onus that you're benefiting that patient, which now obviously benefits the growth of your clinic. And so again, forethought, and I'll express, even when I first met you, I don't think the foot scanners and the different technology was really big quite at that time, but you came over to the States, you gathered that information because you said, how can I benefit the patients? How can I make this a quicker process? How can I make this more precise? And so I'm going to use the tools that are available, even though they may not be readily available here. I'm going to go find them because I know it's going to benefit the patients, which in turn benefits the overall entity of the clinic. And so that's one thing that you and I gel with, and the fact that we're always looking for that next thing that's basically what they're going to be looking for anyway, so that I can keep them in-house and basically serve them the best that I can.
Yeah. And I think that then comes all the way back to developing the relationship with your professional referrers, is when you're constantly trying to improve, grow your business, grow yourself as a health professional, the other health professionals in your area that are doing the same thing will very quickly notice that's what you're doing. And like-minded people just find each other. Whereas the podiatrists are just sitting back down little malls and little shops, beige walls, do not change anything. How the clinic was 10 years ago is exactly the same. The progressive professional referrers will see that they've never changed, and they want to hang with the cool kids. They want to hang with the other people that are keeping up to date.
Agreed. And same thing with your patients. They want to know that you're keeping up with the times. And so when they actually walk into your clinic, what do they see? Is it up and coming? Is it modern? Is it inviting? Is the staff friendly? Are they, do they feel excited and uplifted when they walk through? There's lots of things you got to look at. And I think people get stuck in their own stuff, and they don't evaluate those things. And that's one thing, as you alluded to, we were two of the busiest clinics in Cairns at the time. And part of it is because both of us had, we had clinics that were, I'll use the term upscale, but we had design, we had things to feature to make it look more modern and inviting, to where people walked in and went, wow, I'm in the right place.
Yeah. And I look at Cairns now, and I look at the biggest podiatry clinic in Cairns now, and I look at the biggest physio clinic, biggest chiropractic clinic, and I know they all refer to each other. You just know, because the same process continues. You might move away, but that thinking of how people look at each other does not change. People want to work with the best. So you've got to keep pushing your clinic, I think, to become the best. To within whatever the best is in your head, you'll then align yourself with health professionals that are the same. So Brent, I want to thank you for coming on and sharing part of, we didn't get too much into all the stuff we used to get up to, which is probably good.
It was safer.
Let's keep the party bus out of this. And
exactly.
But we had a lot of fun in Cairns. Like I said, we've caught up in Denver, Colorado. We've gone to Las Vegas together, Margaritaville. We've gone to ice hockey.
And can I share this experience? And I know we bring this up about every time we talk, but this goes to the tune of relationship. Tyson and I, basically I moved back to the States. We talked throughout the years, but we hadn't really hung out in, I can't remember if it was 10, 12.
About 12 years.
It was like 12 years, and Tyson came over to Vegas. And because we had developed and fostered such a relationship and gotten to know each other, when he came over with his family and we basically connected, it was immediate that we basically just hit it off. We talked as if we had just hung out the last weekend, and we were talking shop, we were talking personal, but that's the sort of relationship that you want to find in the people that you work with, because we all want to enjoy what we do, and we all want to make sure that every interaction uplifts us at the same time we're serving that patient. And so do what you can do to actually find those people that are your people, so to speak, that will serve your patients and foster that as best you can.
There's a fantastic way to wrap up. And if all goes to plan, I will be seeing you towards the end of this year when I make my way over to Arizona.
I will look forward to it.
Oh, it's in my diary. Just gotta
make it happen.
Just gotta make it happen. Yes. Okay, Brent. So Thanks a lot. I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.